voicemail.
It's not my name, and I won't answer to it, but it's better than some of the names I've been called. My earliest memories are from when I was 3 years old. In hindsight, that may be when I first realized that I'm gay. I used to love playing with my sister's Barbie dolls. They were like the cool drag queen friends to my G.I. Joes. Like most siblings, we did not like sharing our toys. And I was so jealous that I couldn't have my own Barbies, I would rip the heads off my sister's dolls. I know it's like sacrilege, but don't worry, I've made it up to Mattel over the years. I now own over 20 collectible Barbies. Dukes of Hazzard, Wonder Woman, and Charlie's Angels reruns filled my TV with images of powerful women. I loved them. I didn't want to be them, but I wanted what they had. Kelly Garrett and Diana Prince could command the attention of any man with a wink and the wag of the finger. Sex appeal. I loved watching them get their men worked up. I also have a vivid memory of each time Bo Duke took his shirt off to tune up the General Lee. By the time I was 5 years old, I was allowed to stay up late on Friday nights and watch Dallas with my grandmother. She hated J.R. Ewing, but I loved Bobby Ewing. Just up the street from our house was a ranch where a boy my age lived. His name was Peter, and his family raised horses. A real-life Bobby Ewing. We were already friends when my crush developed. I didn't really know what my feelings meant, but I knew that I loved spending time with him. Whenever a schoolboy would pull my sister's hair or punch her arm, my mom would say, "He's just trying to get your attention. It's because he likes you." So when I realized that I had feelings for Peter, I punched him. Turns out that's a fast way to end a friendship. In 5th grade, I had a huge crush on a boy named Chris. We both loved trivia, and we would create games for each other's amusement. His questions were about Smurfs and Thundercats, and my questions were about Barbra Streisand and the Oscars. By high school, I had no doubt about my sexual orientation, and neither, it seemed, did most of the jocks. By the 2nd week of 9th grade, the verbal assaults became a regular occurrence. Fag! Faggot! Fairy! They weren't exactly creative. The occasional fudge packer or butt pirate slung in my direction proved that they had a little imagination. I'm not sure if it was my size or the fact that I did all of my crying in private, but thankfully the assaults rarely got physical. I was lucky enough to have a girlfriend who wanted to be my girlfriend. Her name was Megan, and we loved each other very much, but the relationship was not physical. Believe me, we tried. We were the Rock Hudson and Doris Day of our school. She fawned over me while I fawned over pretty much every one of my male friends. At any given point in my teens, I was madly in love with at least one of my male friends. Megan would often ask me about my attraction to boys, and at first I would explain it away as nothing more than curiosity. I eventually told her I was bisexual. She was okay with that. At my school, it was okay to be fluid with your sexuality as long as you avoided the label of gay. Bi was fine. Teenagers seemed to understand that one. Oh, and lesbian? That was the ultimate cool. The guys seemed to love the idea of as many girls in school getting together as possible. They didn't seem to grasp the concept that 2 lesbians left no room in the equation for boys. Anyway, Megan and I were perfectly happy with our facade. We'd go on dates, we'd kiss, we'd hold hands. We did everything that straight couples did. We just couldn't make the physical stuff work. We still dated all through high school. But at 17, I met Mark. Oh my God. Mark was 6'4" and a dancer. He looked like the guy from those Calvin Klein cologne ads. He went to another school, so my lust for him should have been easy to contain. The catch? Mark and Megan were friends. We saw each other all the time that summer. Megan noticed my mood elevate whenever Mark was around, and she flat out asked me if I was attracted to him. So I lied. I said, "I'm not blind. He's very good looking. He's talented. He's funny. He's charming. He's very attractive, but I'm not attracted to him." The truth is, there was an amazing mutual attraction between Mark and me. And it wasn't long before I found in him the physical aspect that my relationship with Megan lacked. Mark was my first everything. Guilt eventually forced my confession to Megan. She reacted okay. She said that she couldn't have handled it if I cheated on her with a woman, but since I cheated with a man, there was really no competition. She was hurt and she was angry, but she realized that Mark provided something for me she could not. So my two unconventional relationships continued through graduation. But Mark and Megan ended their friendship. After graduation, Megan and I left for the same college, so I had to end it with Mark. I didn't know how. I realized I was in love with him, but I could not admit that he was anything more than a fling. The easy escape was to lash out, so I lied. I told him I didn't have feelings for him. And I accused him of seducing me. Broke his heart. And mine. At college, I pushed Megan away and I embraced my homosexuality. I'd already come out to my mom and my sister when I was 16. My mom's reaction was benign, boring. I mean, I didn't expect a scene from Torch Song Trilogy or anything really over the top, but I expected more than, okay. Okay, she said. I mean, in hindsight, I couldn't have asked for a better reaction. She simply stated with one simple word that she didn't object. Okay. The truth is, she probably suspected. I mean, moms always do. When I came out to my dad, his reaction was great too, but at the time, I needed something more. My dad reacted the way that his generation and upbringing told him to react. Don't talk about it. I thought his not wanting to talk about it meant that he didn't accept it, but I was wrong. It simply meant he didn't want to talk about it. I ignorantly thought that my father's only knowledge of gay people were the boys in hot pants and the drag queens on parade floats who showed up on the news whenever gay pride was discussed. It's a watershed moment when a child realizes that his parents are people. Remember the first time you saw a school teacher at the mall or in a social setting? It is completely unnerving. We think that they only exist in front of the classroom. They have no being outside of the school. Well, for a major chunk of our lives, many of us see our parents the same way. They didn't exist before we came into the world. They had no being outside of the home. If they had to leave us with a sitter, it was so they could be with other parents and talk about us. Because they didn't stop thinking about us for a moment, and they certainly never did anything fun. I first realized that my parents were people, three-dimensional beings outside of my own little world, about a year after coming out to my dad. My mom recounted the story. She said they were playing tennis with another couple, and the other guy said something about Tom Hanks playing a fad with AIDS and how it would ruin his career. My dad shut him down immediately. He said he would not tolerate the use of that word in his presence, and they walked away. I don't know if they ever played with him again, but I do know it wasn't the last time my parents stood up for me. Just last year, while helping to plan my wedding, the caterer that we had booked bailed on us when she found out it was a gay wedding. My mom made it perfectly clear to all of her friends, and frankly, anybody who would listen, that if they hired this caterer for anything, her reaction would make Julia Sugarbaker blush. Speaking of getting married, Jeff, the guy that I waited almost 20 years to legally marry, he's the Robin to my Batman. He's the Bert to my Ernie. Our wedding was perfect, meaning nothing went the way it was supposed to, but nobody noticed. Our parents walked us down the aisle, beaming with pride. A few months ago, Jeff and I ran into Mark at dinner. He was so sweet. He told Jeff how lucky he was, and told me that everything was water under the bridge. I tried to apologize for the way that I ended our relationship, but he summed it up perfectly. We were babies, he said. He was right. I mean, we were physically teenagers, very adult, but mentally our brains were in the infancy of adulthood. I played that conversation over in my mind quite a bit. Mark told Jeff that he's lucky. The truth is, I'm the lucky one. For all of it. For coming to terms with my sexual orientation and coming out, it all seemed unsurmountable at the time. But it made me into the person I am today. The person that Jeff fell in love with. And that makes me the luckiest man in the world.